Hey guys, and welcome to CANNAMANtv. My name is Connor McLeod, and in this interview, I speak with Ganjaman Creator Jim Stewart. In this interview, we discuss the origins of Ganjaman, Jim's cannabis convictions, what cannabis was like in the 1990s compared to today's cannabis, Ganjaman collaborations, Jim's Ganjaman animation, and the difficulties faced when pursuing a creative career. Make sure to like and subscribe, and join me on Patreon, where for £3 a month, you can help to build a stronger cannabis media platform. Now then, let's talk cannabis. Super. Excellent. We've got it there. Nice one, Jim. How you doing?
Not bad, mate. It's been a bit.
On you go.
There, no. So.
I know. You're looking good, man. Are you able to get? You able to put a light on? Is the light on? Is that a light on the now?
That's a light on.
I've got a big stadium light right in front of you, my man. That's looking good. There we go. Good. Excellent.
Maybe because I'm not close enough for that.
No. That's it. Perfect, Jim. You just adjusted it fine. It must have just been the angle.
As I say, it was Gilbert Sheldon's birthday 2 days ago. He was 81. Right? So you've heard of Gilbert Sheldon?
I have actually. That's perfect. You would say that actually, Jim, because my knowledge of comics is embarrassing, right? And I'm aware of the Bruins, Ur Willie, the Beano, that kind of shit, and then I've got maybe 3 Freak Brothers, like old Freak Brothers. They've only got the cover on it. They're all faded, coffee stains, that kind of stuff. And apart from that, that's all I've had. I actually only started doing CANNAMAN about 3 years ago, something like that. Just as a. That's why when I came across your thing, Jim, it's like, man, you're like, what is your process? Like, how do you go around the making your comics?
Old school way, just pen and paper, and then scan it and colour it on Photoshop now.
Excellent.
The old times was just you would draw it and then take it to a shop to get it photocopied.
Right.
And then the machine would do most of the work, but you had to like place in the pages at certain sides, page 1 and page 32 or something. I mean, it's hard work, but since the internet and things came along, it's a lot easier. You can just put your stuff up online now, which is quite good.
Are you able to move the camera down just slightly, Jim, so I can get your full head in the frame? Just slightly on the screen. Yeah.
Let's brace it up a wee bit. I don't have any knocked out in it, I don't. Alright, how's that?
That's perfect. Bang in the middle of the screen. Dynamite. Yeah. Well, that's kind of a bit of relief, Jim, that you say that you colour them online, because I kind of felt like it was a bit of a cheat, because that's where I attempted to do that. Because I do the same thing. I make my box. Honestly, Jim, you have to be aware here, man. This is crazy that I'm chatting to you about this, man. Like, this is like, I'm super fucking timid about what I'm about to describe, because you're like the fucking dude that did this, man. It's like, fuck. But yeah, it's like, so anyways, I essentially.
You're doing them. I think anyways, good.
I mean, have you had a look at my stuff? Like, did you look at my stuff on Facebook?
Yeah. I like your format. You've got just the one skin of things.
Right.
That's it. Where I started off, I used to do 22-page stories, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then I cut them into small ones.
I've actually just found, it was like maybe 3 weeks ago or something like that, because I've done, if I was to just briefly, I want to talk to you about this, Jim, but if I want to hear about your story, fuck my shit. But it's like if I was to just briefly tell you about the channel, that's how CANNAMAN came into existence, because I thought I wanted to do a cannabis YouTube channel. I wanted to kind of represent Scotland, kind of change the stigma, all that stuff. Everybody knows, and have that thing. So to have like a cannabis symbol, you have to have it's like anything, that archetypal element, so that people can resonate with it. And that's it. So I was like, well, come up with that kind of thing. So I came up with the comic book character. After I did kids books for my son, and that's why, and I started, and I had no idea how to do them, so I was like, well, and so I just went into Word and did boxes, and I was like, I'll do 2 boxes and did like 3 lines, and then I ended up making, and I'll send you them over, Jim. I was going to do it this morning, but I've been, kind of caught up, but and it was 8-page comics of CANNAMAN, and the very first one is called Nature's Miracle Cure, and it's all about essentially the police chiefs. It's extremely crude. I mean, you've got to, even when I look back now, the writing's like you have 3 words and this big huge fucking balloon circle, it's like, it's not even nearly, so essentially I've got 8-page comics. That's the extent of what I went down. But honestly, Jim, if you don't mind, I'll send you them over after this. Okay.
Yeah, I'll have a look at it.
Excellent. Because I found one. I'll put it up on for the editing thing. But I found one that I'd done 2 years ago or something. And because I've been trying to do the channel, you know what it's like when you're productive. You don't even look at the last thing you did. You just keep going.
Yeah, it's the best way.
Exactly, and so anyway, I ended up finding this one called Zombification. I literally finished doing it, colouring it, and wording it this morning. So I'll send you over the very first one I did, and I'll send you over the one that I'd finished this morning, because then you'll get a perfect insight into see where I'm at.
That's cool. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. But anyway, enough of my bullshit, Jim. This is it. So the idea of Ganjaman, what made you even come up with it? In 1994, did you come up with the idea, and then you made it 95?
Yeah, that's right. I actually had 3 drug convictions.
Right.
Smoking cannabis, caught 3 times. And I was really, there was nothing I could do about it. I mean, I was like, man, this is getting me angry.
Yeah.
And I was going to do this other comic about a guy who's about killing paedophiles. So I had the choice. I said, I'm going to either do this character or this Ganjaman character, but I still hadn't made the name up for Ganjaman yet. So it was like, so what do I call him? And I went through a lot of names, probably like yourself did, CANNAMAN.
Yeah.
And I was sitting watching I used to stay up late at night to smoke my weed when my wife was in bed.
Yeah.
And Predator 2 came on. And so I was sitting drawing. And have you ever seen Predator 2?
Yeah, Predator 2 is great. I love
it. Into the big car, and he's like, "You want some ganja, man?" That's the name of the character. So that was me. And I put together the comic like yourself.
Yeah.
Pen and paper, the pencil at first and then pen, and took it to the shop and got it all stapled together. And that, I mean, and started selling it to my friends and that. But at that time, it took about a year to do a full comic. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I had a full-time job and kids, and so it was taking a year to just do one comic. And then eventually, I met some other cartoonists, and we put our stuff together to do a comic called Northern Lights, which was named after the weed Northern Lights.
Yeah.
And that was like bigger, and it was like 5,000 print run. You know what I mean? So we got that out. The other guys who were doing it with us, they smoked weed, but none of them had the convictions that I had for it. You know what I mean? So that gave me a reason to do it, but they still did. They still came along with me and put their time and efforts. You know what I mean? And eventually, the comic quote. This was you see this?
Oh, aye. No, I see that.
This comic, no.
Aye. That's dynamite, man. That is like
the issue 13, and a friend of mine's, Alan Grant, who's another smoker, but he was actually mainstreaming. He was doing Batman and Judge Dredd and things.
Oh, really?
And he liked the comic, and I said, well, why don't you write a story for me then, a Ganjaman story?
Yeah.
And within a 6 months, he done me a new story. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, somebody's interested in writing for me now. So it was good to have somebody else's input into it.
Yeah.
Because I was always writing the same old stuff, I thought. And when somebody else comes along and writes something for you, then it's a view that they're having of your character. And they're putting their voices into their mouths, if you know what I mean. And it's like, oh. So that was quite a big difference for me. And I knew Ganjaman had legs in, and I was like, I'll keep this going. Even though my then wife was telling me to get another job. I was working full time. My brother stayed underneath me, and he had 2 part-time jobs.
Right.
And my wife says, why don't you give up that and just get another job? And I was like, but my brother's like, no. She said, like your brother. My brother's working 2 part-time jobs. I'm working full-time. Drawing in my spare time. And she was, oh God, it was weird.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Jim, that hits fucking close to home.
It all happens for a reason. I mean, it's. I'm glad I'm divorced now. You can keep that in.
Yeah.
I've got a girlfriend now, and she actually is really good with words, and she can edit my stuff.
Right. Oh, really? That's good.
And company is good, but if your heart's in drawing comics, it's got to be a lonely existence. You know what I mean? But I was mostly drawing after midnight. I was like the gremlin. I mean, and get my smoke. because she was right against cannabis as well.
Right.
Which was, she knew I smoked cannabis when I married her. She knew I drew when I married her. And all of a sudden she wanted to change me. And I just couldn't change that way. You know what I mean? I was working a full-time job, and that was...
What were you working as?
Gravestones. I had to work in the building. I used to do drawings on gravestones, which was that was the only art job I had. It was.
That's so Scottish, man. Fucking drawings on gravestones. I love that shit.
And, some of the weirdest things to draw on stones. You know what I mean? Star Trek. But it was like kind of weird, also. But the thing about drawing gravestones is you've got the religion thing in there as well. And the guy who owned the gravestone place, the monument place, was Jewish.
Right.
So he would just do Christian things, and when I started, they were like, "Oh, are you the new artist?" And I was like, "Aye." And he said, "Come here." And I was like, so I followed him, and he pointed down at a stone, and he was like, "Look." And I said, "What is it?" And there's blood all over it. He says, "Oh, that was your last artist." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, the guy was moving the stone because it was a big stone, and you've got to be trained for this, moving a stone, because it's on 2 pins. You've got to like do this bit." And the other guy said, Have you got it? Have you got the stone?" And he says, "Yeah." So he was holding the stone himself, but the stone fell forward, and common sense would tell you to let it go, but this guy folded it down and took the sliced his fingers off. So that was his career over, you know what I mean? And I was like, fucking hell, man. But I let myself in for.
Uh-huh.
And there was a guy coming in, videoing, because he was getting sued. The guy was getting sued. And he's come up to me and he says, "Oh, have you been taught how to move a stone?" Aye. He said, can you show me? But I had a kind of, because I've worked in gardens and all that kind of thing before, so I had a bit of common sense in it. Into if you just forward you fucking just let it drop.
Aye. So
this guy was suing him. So I think the Jewish guy had to sell it to this Irish Australian guy, and this guy wanted me to draw like red hands of holsters and Mason signs and things.
Right.
And UVF, and I'm a Catholic, so I was like, no.
That's no fucking happening.
He says, "Why no?" And I was like, "Because it's against my religion," kind of thing. There wasn't Blunt Man and Chronic wasn't out yet. Mm-hmm. And what do you call that thing? There was something where this guy, what do you call him? There was another dope thing just coming out after I started it.
So you didn't actually did you not see like a future in it? You didn't think I would make a living doing this?
I was thinking of I had other characters that I wanted to draw, but Ganjaman was starting to make me money now as well, and I was going to convention as it we were selling the comics by the bucket load, and I mean, I was like, oh man, this isn't too bad. Yeah. So I was kind of stuck in that. And any time I did try to chuck drawing Ganjaman, I would end up in a newspaper, or there'd be somebody give me a good write-up about it, and I was like, right. I thought of a joint, and fuck it, just keep drawing it. I mean, because it seemed to be making a few ripples, and that's all you can ask for. I wasn't making it in for the money or anything. I mean, I was drawing it because of my beliefs. Yeah. And I was working full time as I mentioned, so I was making money for my full time job and making some money for the comics. And my wife is always wanting a piece of that as well. And it's like, no, it doesn't. She's like, give me some of that money, and I was like, no, it doesn't work that way. I've got to save up money so I can get a new comic out. And if I've done one comic, then you don't just spend the money that you make for it. You've got to keep it so you can get another print of it, or for the next comic you need to print it. You know what I mean? But she didn't understand that, and I think she thought I was like holding on to the cash. And I was like, oh, I was buying weed as well, of course.
What would you recommend nowadays? Like, for people, like even for CANNAMAN, like, how would you recommend getting that out to be more active? Because in my mind, there's a part of me that thinks I shouldn't be putting it on Facebook.
Facebook isn't too bad with the cannabis thing just now, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, just for getting a response, because obviously the other thing I was going to ask Jim, copyright wise, like the way I, sorry,
Instagram's a good one.
Yeah,
They're more appreciative there.
yeah.
And you can,
I was going to say copyright wise. I mean, essentially, because I keep getting asked this in my mind, it's the moment it leaves your pencil on your paper, that's yours. That's
Yep.
the copyright when it comes to artists.
Aye. A lot of people used to send an envelope, put the artwork in an envelope, and send it to themselves, and but never open it. So if anybody ever charged you for it, if anybody ever used your ideas, you could take them to court, and then the envelope's got the date stamped on it. So you could give that to your judge, and the judge would open it up, or your lawyer, and then they would see that, well, that idea's been copyrighted back then. You know what I mean? And that was how we used to do it. But now there's a big copyright rules in now, and people will try and rip you off no matter what you're doing. Like in different countries, they could see CANNAMAN, and you'll never know. They could sell T-shirts. You'll never know about it.
Yeah.
I've seen people selling stuff with Ganjaman, and there's nothing you can do.
That's the thing. I've wondered that. I've seen Ganjaman on lighters. I've seen them on lighters and like fucking ashtrays and that. And I wonder that to myself. I was like, I wonder how they've got
that. That's somebody else that's doing that. I mean, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you find the person who does it, you can give them a good clonk in the head.
But
but no, it would cost you money to. It would cost you money to take them to court. And you probably win it, but is the guy going to take is he going to pay the money that he owes you?
Yeah, no. It's annoying. Like, I mean, I also I think that's what it is, because I mean, I love CANNAMAN. Like, it's part of my being, man. That's what it's like. It's like I can't. That's the reason why I did the single Skinners, was because I was doing the 8-page comics and doing the interviews as well for the channel. I had no time. It wasn't sustainable to do it, because it would take me an entire month of drawing it. So I'd get the storyboard, and then obviously the printing them off the word sheets, and then drawing it in pencil, and then inking it over. And that's what was quite funny, Jim, is because when I look back over my old stuff, the progression route was like going from using a super thick pen to then using a thin pen appropriately, that kind of shit. And it's just funny. It's like some of the stuff I was like, and it's been okay though, because it's only been like 3 years. Like I said, CANNAMAN's about 2 years old, and my intention is to try and get them into a position where there's an animation available, because I tried to make them as accessible as possible. Which reminds me, actually, you've got that animation on YouTube. How did you make that? The two little videos?
I just wrote the story and drew it and coloured it. And then one of my friends, I was in part of a studio in Glasgow, Trongate 103. I rented a studio, and up there was a lot of like other artists, and there was like people do voices, and there was a lot of people who had the right programs to do it.
Right.
Because I never did any of those programs. I only had Photoshop and InDesign and things. InDesign for doing a comic.
Yeah.
And so they asked me, and I think I was doing this big extravaganza thing. 15 years of Ganjaman or something, and I wanted to do something because I was doing I was launching it in a comic shop, and I wanted to show this cartoon. So these guys all rallied around me, and they didn't even take any money for it either, which was a good thing. I was thinking, well, maybe if I could get 10 of these cartoons, then I could maybe feed it to, because MTV is got their own ganja channel, if you don't know. And I was thinking, well, if I can do this, I can turn all these 2 pages into like 5-minute cartoons, you know what I mean? And I can sell it to them. But, you can't expect people to do things for nothing. And I was like, no, I felt kind of guilty about it as well. I know that I've never made any money because it's on YouTube, but it's no monetized or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How's your smoking changed over the years for when you're actually doing it back in the day, kind of thing? Just starting off drawing, is it still the same?
I pipe it now. I don't really smoke the tobacco anymore. That's a thing that's well gone. So instead of rolling joints now, I would just pipe it. But I've got this great vaporizer, which is quite good. And, I've let other people try it, and they've been like, I don't really feel anything. I said, but you've got to like puff it right in. Yeah. It's the same with pipes. You get people go, and they go, And I don't feel anything. I said, no, fucking take a good puff at it. Don't fucking just hold it in your mouth. You fucking get it in your lungs. And they go, and then they're like, oh, I feel it now. And I said, welcome to my world.
Thing is, what do you think about Scottish culture when it comes to cannabis since it was the middle of the 90s? Because the thing is, when you made Ganjaman, I would have been 5 years old, man. 5 years old, exactly. Exactly, and that's what's so dynamite with this, Jim. Because this is the thing. Let's say I'm so, and it's not a narcissistic thing, as you're aware when it comes to doing work, especially cartoons. You're so self-absorbed with producing your own stuff. You don't have any time to look out with, you know. And it wasn't until I'd actually made all the comics and I sent them out to publishers, and it was one of them who sent me back, went, "Here, mate, you're fucking like 10, 15 years too late. There's a guy called Ganjaman," and then he sent me your link.
There's always room for more. I mean,
that's very humble of you, Jim. I appreciate that, man.
It's like a lot of people have come up to me at conventions and said, "You're ripping off Blunt Man and Chronic. You know, you heard of them, Blunt Man and Chronic?"
No, I've not heard of them.
Have a wee look for it later. It's like America. You know, their culture is really big on cannabis. And it's legal in some states. So they've made films and all that about it, and when you do it in Scotland, you're a bad person. I mean, I was like demonised in the newspapers for it by this woman called Gail McCann, and she was like some kind of MP, but she had some pull with the Daily Mail, Scottish Daily Mail, and so I'd done this comic. Right. This was in 2003.
Well,
and
cool.
wrapped it in cover. And I got 1,000 of them done.
Yeah.
And at that time I was also working for Soft Secrets and another mag called Weed World. So I was doing cartoons for them and they were paying me.
Right.
So my stepdaughter phoned me one Sunday. She says, "Oh, you're in the paper?" And I was like, "What?" She said, "You're in the newspaper." And I was like, "What about?" She said, "Ganjaman." I was like, "I'll read it out." And it was saying I should be ashamed of myself, and that cannabis causes schizophrenia, and nobody should be taking the mickey out of the drug culture. And I was like, "Wait a minute, man, I've got fucking 3 drug convictions. I've got fucking right to do this, man." I mean, and my wife, who was she was working for BT at the time, and she felt ashamed in that. I mean, she fuck says. Any advertisements is good advertisement. Anything that she was like, "Oh, I've got to hold my head up." And, that in a way it was good for me because then everybody kind of in Scotland that read the newspaper came in knew about it. I mean, within a month, the whole comics that I did sold it.
How do you do that as well, by the way, Jim? Like, because that's one of the things I thought to myself, like, is our comic book, I know this year's kind of a fucking write-off probably with these things, but I mean, a comic book convention is feasible if I showed up with like 500 comics, that kind of shit.
There's a great one in the Scottish Exhibition Centre, and I used to get badges and stickers, posters, and before, these things start about 8 in the morning, and I've sold it by 12 o'clock. It's brilliant. It's amazing the amount of tokers in Scotland. So I would recommend it.
Excellent.
Some of them will only let you in because of the cannabis. I've had that before. I've turned up at conventions or like marts, they call them, art kind of arty-farty things.
Yeah.
And then set my table up, and then some guys come up to my table and say, "Oh, you can't sell that here. You can't sell that here." It's like, oh fuck, just took comics and away. I mean,
it makes me laugh now when I hear those fucking people, man, because it's just so outdated. There's too much science now for these people to even think they know anything. So it just makes me laugh. These fucking sit down, man.
Well, look at we poor kids now that's having epileptic seizures, and I mean, and they're taking cannabis, and there's one there, wee Billy. Yeah. He's not had it for a year. I mean, he's been taking the oil. And I'm still saying that it's got no medicinal
value.
Aye. But do you know that I did a cartoon no long ago there, and it's about Theresa May's husband.
Right.
If you look him up, Theresa May's husband.
Oh yeah, Tate and Lyle Sugar.
Well, he's the biggest exporter in the UK, I think, of cannabis. They're exporting it, growing it, and then exporting it to America. And
Yeah.
they're still sticking to this. There's no medicinal. It's like, fuck off, man! You're exporting it. So it's pure hypocrites, you know what I mean? And poor guys who are caught smoking it are growing it. You can still get 12 years for growing weed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, Jim, about your collaborations. I mean, how is it? Like, one of the things I've thought to myself, like, is the idea of that. Like, you see on these, like, for instance, the 2 or 3 of the Furry Freak Brothers. There's the 2 of the guys. What are their names again? Like Sheldon and Gilbert.
Gilbert
See what I
Sheldon,
mean, man? Gilbert Sheldon. What's the other guy's name?
he's the artist of it.
Right.
But the characters are called the Freak Brothers, and it's Fat Freddy, Phineas,
Aye.
and Franklin.
Aye.
I was probably yourself. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, man, this is great, because I was reading superhero stuff and I was like, getting sick of it. You know what I mean? I was like maybe 18 when I came across it, and I was like, man, this is brilliant. Comics have grew up in me. You know what I mean? It's like, I've caught up with my age, and I couldn't read the Spider-Man stuff and that anymore, because it was like, you have to read that now when you've got this. And I started to learn about other underground comics as well, like Spain Rodriguez, and a lot of them are quite a good age, and they're all dying off now. You know what I mean? And they've always been held under by the mainstream, and you think you shouldn't be drawing anything. You shouldn't be drawing comics unless it's for kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's adults that are reading comics the most.
I know. The thing is as well, because the next guy I actually came across was Robert Crumb. He was the other guy. So he's essentially he's like that's what I mean. Just as you mentioned, he's like, oh, finally it's caught my age. That's what I felt about him, and and also the Furry Freak Brothers. It was like, hey, these are like adult themed comics, and which is actually a side point. I'm actually working on my very first graphic novel at the moment, and it's called Take Care, and it's set in a care home.
I liked that when I was working, because ideas come, you're working.
Yeah.
When you're working, and I don't think the ideas come as good. You know what I mean? Plus, if you get kids, you work a lot harder. You know what I mean? You kind of put more into it. These days, I'm no single, but I've got a girlfriend, but I don't really get as much the urge to draw as much as I like painting, and I do sculptures. I've been meeting Ganjaman. Hopefully, I'll get a decent one, and I can, what do you call it, make mass produce them, start selling them. You know what I mean? I've always wanted to kind of follow on Gilbert Sheldon's footsteps. You know what I mean? Because he had the beef figures, which I had years ago, and I painted them. And it's a good thing to get into. You can't just put it on comics. You know what I mean? You've got to get merchandise, and badges, and it's the best way, because that's advertising. You know what I mean? Stickers. People have to put stickers on their whatever they've got. You know what I mean? That's
actually a great point, Jim. Actually, because I started this thing about 3 weeks ago. I put a video up, and it's Redbubble. So I've got all this merchandise stuff on Redbubble, but it's expensive as fuck. I mean, I was scrolling down to buy one the other day, and I was like £20 for a t-shirt. I was like, I'm not wanting to pay for that for my own stuff, But it's so I'm going to
iron-on things.
The what?
You can get the iron-on ones. You know what I mean? You just print them out, and then you iron them onto the t-shirt. It's a cheaper way of doing it. You still got to buy the t-shirts, but you can get them in bulk.
That's a great idea. Have you done that method?
Yeah. After t-shirts, I know a couple of guys who do t-shirts on hand. It saved me actually even sending them out. You know what I mean? We'll get somebody to post them out instead. And
sorry, I was going to say, is there anybody in the past when you've done a collaboration with that you were like you thought it was a pain in the fucking arse, and you were like, I wish I didn't do this?
Well, when we started this Northern Lights comic, there was a guy who was a bit of a pain in the arse. He actually was punting weed, and we were getting weed off him for a good while. And then I started this job through Campanald, and I took some of the comics through, and I was passing them through to the workforce. There was a lot of talkers there, and I was the only guy for Yoker there, and there was quite a lot of them, maybe 50 workers there, and they were buying some comics admin. So this guy says to me, you must have been able to get some good weed. And I was like, aye, of course. So he gave me the money. So this was the Friday. No, in fact, the Thursday. He gave me the money. And I scored it was meant to be an ounce. And
do you remember what the price was?
I'd never weigh it. No, I mean, I would just smoke it. When I go to it, I would just smoke it, and I never weighed it.
Right.
So I took it into the guy in the work, and he's like, cheers, man. And he says, what are you doing? And I was like, aye. So Monday came, the weekend passed, and Monday came, and I goes into work. And there's this guy with all his fucking mates and all that, all standing around like that, you know what I mean? And I was like, and he says, hey, big man, me and you need to talk. And I was like, what's wrong? He went, I weighed that and it was only half an ounce. And I was like, fuck, joking. So I was angry and I think I phoned him to my house. I can't remember where I phoned him, but I phoned him and I was like, yeah, man, you nearly got me fucking murdered. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, that fucking ounce wasn't an ounce, it was a half ounce. And he went, but it's quality, not quantity. And I was like, fuck, get my money ready, I'll be up tonight. Because we had a studio.
Yeah.
I was going to kill him, man.
Yeah.
And, when I got to the studio, he seen my rage, you know what I mean? And I gave him the weed. And he went, broke it in two, and he went, here, Jim. And he gave me it in anger, kind of went away. But then I was like, oh, man, I've been scoring off him for years.
Yeah.
He must have been doing that all the time. And my other mate, Pudgy, who's dead now, he was another comic artist. He was buying it all the time and all. So you've ripping us off, you know what I mean? Because it's not something you think you do, like weighing your weed, you know what I mean? And I just smoked it there and then. And so I kind of regret working with him a wee bit.
Thing is, now I learned that early on, like. I fucking learned that early on, man, getting scales and all that, because I remember that, like, I think back to the very first bit of smoke that I ever bought, and it was funny because I must have been about, I don't know, 13 or 14, and I was sitting there and my mate handed me it, and he got it for his dad, and he handed me it, like, covertly, and went, Jamaican Black, and I was like, I was like, I didn't even smoke it correctly, you know, it was all that kind of shit, but, no, that's funny. I mean, do you smoke, I take it, would you sit with a joint, and then you would just go, like, cracking straight into the drawn? Or a pipe or whatever.
I don't know if you've ever seen a film called Misery. Have you ever seen that film? It's a guy who, when he writes a novel, he doesn't smoke anything, but when he finishes a novel, then he lights up a cigarette. You know what I mean, right. I was like that with every panel. You know what I mean,
right. All right.
It's when I started.
You ever had that? Sorry, Jim. I was going to ask that just when you mentioned panel there. Right? This is so awesome that I could talk to you, man. Because I'm fucking lost. I'm literally isolated as fuck when it comes to this stuff, man. Mr. Jim, you have no idea. That's what's so funny about that. But when you said panel there, because I have this moment in my head that keeps arriving, right, when I think to myself like what my life's work would be when it comes to comics, right? And I was thinking that's right, and I think that's what the Take Care, the graphic novel is, because I'm building.
Did a lot for, but I've seen your books. I think you did a lot for 2 years, man.
I mean, really? Well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Because it was 3 years. I actually created the comic. I created CANNAMAN. I think it was the beginning of 2019. 2019 I created him. So he's 19. 2 years it's been.
Yeah.
Wait till I appreciate that, Jim. Fuck, you have no idea, man, because I'm not joking. Like, I'm a firm believer in manifestation and the 10,000 hours theory and all these different other fucking metaphysical concepts and shit like that, right? And I'm a firm believer that your thoughts in alignment with your actions can kind of bring in what you want. That's why I asked, like, what were you visualizing when you were actually drawing, like what was coming next and all this kind of stuff? And the reason I'm saying this is that I have this fleeting moment in my head where I was like, I wonder what my life's work will be. I wonder what because you get like folk like Tolstoy and Dostoevsky and these men and others, you know, and these men have like put in a lot of craft that they'll have at the end of their day this totality, this one complete masterwork. And one of the things I've thought to myself was I was like, what would be amazing would be to create a graphic novel where every panel itself was a fucking masterwork. Where every panel would, do you know what I mean? And how would that be achieved? And this is the thing that keeps popping in my head, like, how the fuck can I make this happen, man?
You get better and better all the time. What do you say, the 100-hour Fury thing?
Yeah.
It's true, you know what I mean? You just get better and better and better. You're looking back at your stuff just now, and seeing a difference, and that's good. That's if you don't see a difference, then you're not growing.
Yeah.
And you're because you've got the internet and all this now. You've got a really great audience. You just got to keep pumping it out. But you know what I mean.
Well, that's the key thing that when you said that they keep pumping it out. That's what it kind of feels like. I'm very often dancing on the line of sanity because I'm trying to be so productive and the whole basis of visual. Because the reality is, Jim, I'm doing this. I'm doing the channel. I'm doing the comics and that, and then I'm going to I'm doing like and then I'm going to work, and then I'm washing dishes for 9 hours, man. It's a total polar opposite.
Wash dishes. I know the feeling.
It's fucking grim, man. It's fucking grim.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked, like, did you see it as a saviour? Because I'm not joking, man. This is my only way out. This is it. This is the only way out. CANNAMAN as a force, and when the industry arrives, when the culture arrives, CANNAMAN. I have all intentions on CANNAMAN being the penultimate archetypal symbol that leads the way and that the culture can use, you know. And I'm just pushing to get to that point before somebody notices and goes, right, perfect.
Well, I've seen you're doing well enough, man. And if that's what you've done in the 2 year, I think it's going to be in 15 year. You know what I mean? It's going to keep growing and growing.
Yeah.
And,
appreciate that, Jim.
If you just don't give up, you know what I mean? You just keep going. And as I say, you went through the same kind of thing I did with the wife. And
yeah.
And it's you're keeping it going, and you're not letting that. I mean, a lot of people would. Yep.
Yeah, fall under the weight of it.
I've lost a minute with this. You know what I mean? But if it's your mindset for it, it's got to be there, and you've got to have this fire in your belly kind of thing as well, which I always felt I had when I was starting off. I was like, I need to do this. This is something I need to do.
Yeah.
You know, nobody can talk you out it, and even if your name's in the newspapers, you're being slammed. You know what I mean? Fuck them. Yeah.
Exactly.
So your idea is.
Yeah. When you said that, fire.
An idea of cannabis in Scotland is it's really shit. You know what I mean? It's for laws about it. Or I mean, I think it's really back Victorian times. You know what I mean? And it has to be changed. And people like me and you, you know what I mean, and other people that do the cannabis things, if we keep doing it, you know what I mean, there's going to be other people going to come behind us and follow us, you know what I mean? And that's what I think anyway.
Yeah, I fully agree, Jim. Definitely, man. And that's what. Yeah, man. That's I really appreciate that comment you said there, especially when you said the fire in your belly thing, because that's it's I do believe that's what.
Then you'll just fall. The first couple of hurdles you'll do it, and then you'll. That fire and your mindset, you know what I mean, to do it is what you need.
Yeah.
I mean, I take to be doing. A lot of my friends are cartoonists, and you know, they've went to work for big companies, and I think they've sold their soul, really. You know what I mean? They've not got their own. They're not putting their own life into it.
Yeah.
Whereas the stuff I was doing when I was young, I mean, it was all based on my life and about getting caught smoking weed. You know, it's not going to be interesting to everybody, but it's going to be interesting to the right people, and that's all you need. You know what I mean, who gives a fuck if somebody doesn't like your artwork? You know what I mean, never let that stop you for what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, as I say, my wife, pure anti against it, and I don't care. You know, would you want me to sit and watch Coronation Street and fucking EastEnders with you?
Yeah. I do think there's a break. There's a different kind of people, Jim. I do believe that, and there's a weird thing I think with creative people, and that's why I'd like to see what you think about. Like, how do you conceptualize the basis of the creative process when you're sitting and you're in the zone? You know as well as anybody, you've done it enough. Like that's it. Sometimes, to me personally, feels like it's not your ideas. You know, you just put yourself in a place
because it flows out of you. I know what you mean. I used to think that Ganjaman wrote himself sometimes as well. I actually did a story, a wee cartoon about that, where I'm sitting stoned and then on the drawing table, and it's like, and then Ganjaman comes in and lifts me up into bed, you know what I mean, puts me into bed, and he gets up and goes to the drawing table and starts drawing the stories, and then I wake up the next day and I'm like, fucking hell, man, It's like it writes itself. I don't remember drawing them sometimes.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It's as if you're just like some kind of like just flows through you and you should never actually look into it because you can do yourself some damage.
Well, yeah, that's the weird thing, Jim, because I love like the occultist knowledge and like esoteric information. It's good to hear the positive feedback, Jim. And what's even at this, like when you're still doing Ganjaman now, you said earlier, like which again is kind of similar to my situation. I started all this stuff that I'm doing now for my son. I was like 25 and I did it all for him, and it's weird with you saying that there, like that you feel the fires not as much because your kids are no longer like it's the financial requirement, the urgency. The urgency, and this is what I feel now, the urgency. And sometimes I have that thing where I'm looking into the future, where I have these pocket moments where I think to myself, like, am I going to be sitting one day like, fuck, that was fucking busy, that was heavy, like, fucking hell, man, is that day arriving, you know? Because I could feel it now. It's like there's a treadmill that I essentially can't get off. If I spend a day without being productive, it feels like there's actually something in the center of my chest, which interestingly, I found out that the human body has this thing in the center of your chest called a solar plexus, and it's this vast collection of nerve endings, and they don't really have a purpose for why it's there. And I think that could maybe this receptor like resonance to what's good and what's bad, what you're supposed to be doing, you know, because you feel it there. You feel it when you've been guilty right in your chest, and you feel it when you're in love when it's in your chest. You feel happy in your chest, you know.
I feel like I don't know what I'd be doing if I hadn't been drawing comics. You know what I mean? As I say, I think it picks you really. You know what I mean? Because I don't know why I read comics when I was younger. I still didn't realise that people actually drew these comics. I just think this is brilliant. I didn't even see the names at the beginning of them, so I didn't understand it. And then it was like something inside me. It was like, because I drew comics. I had some characters before I drew Ganjaman as well. And I was drawing some other characters, Captain Caledonia and some other things, you know what I mean? And that was where I learnt how to do the stuff, you know what I mean? I picked up this book when I was younger called How to Draw Comics in Marvel Way, which is really good. It shows you a bit of perspective and how to put your figures together. And then, as I say, it was just like, because I'd been caught smoking weed a couple of 3 times, I was like, I need to do something more to my life, because these comics aren't really meaning anything to me. And what am I going to do with them? It's like, it's a superhero shite, you know what I mean? And it doesn't mean nothing to me. But when I started doing the Ganjaman stuff, I was like, this is better. This is and I was drawing big 3-size papers, you know what I mean? And it was new to me, you know what I mean? But I think it was as if I was picked, if you know what I mean.
I love that, Jim. I love that, man, that you say it was as if you were picked. I love that, because when I look back on my life as well, man, it's very weird. I think, do you know, I have this thing, Jim, where I think it's like what we're describing here. It's like there's a guy called Stephen Pressfield who refers to that thing calling you. He calls it the muse, and I think the things like there's like the yellow brick road, that every human has the capacity to walk down that yellow brick road, and the only thing that's unique to that particular human is their consequential output. And I think that's the only thing unique, and that output is either like comics or music or sculptures or something like that, you know. But we're all able to hack into this thing. And that's when I look back on my life. It's a very similar situation, Jim. It's like there is moments where I'm drawing like cartoons in the classroom on the wall of the teacher and like taking the piss, and there's like a bit of paper I'm like drawing on a bit of paper and passing it around like in the PE hall and stuff like that. And then like this is true, Jim. And this is what's so perfect about this. I spent the last year of high school essentially just getting stoned, 18, know what I'm doing. And essentially I was like, well, to get the EMA, to get the money, what I should do is I'll just cut down on all the most classes to get the maximum amount of money, so then I don't need to show up. So I did that on the last year. And then on the last day, so we're all getting the exam, and I was like, well, I'm not going to go in. So I'm lying in my bed, and I was literally, this is a true story, Jim. I got a fucking chap at the door at 9 a.m. I was like, what? I went down the stairs, I'm standing in my boxers, and it's my fucking head teacher, man, for high school, I promise you, man. He's standing there like, what are you doing? I was like, what? So anyway, he's like, go and get fucking changed. He came pick me up, and this is the same head teacher that stopped me with it. I was showing a mate a quarter of hash in the hall, and he said, "Light him office," that kind of shit, right? So anyway, came pick me up, and then he took me to the office, took me into the hall, and then he's standing right at the side, and he's looking into me, like watching me, and I'm like, shit, and there's like a hall through 100 odd students, and I'm fucking drawn, and I'm looking down like, well, I've not revised, and I can see him watch me, so I drew a big cartoon on the front of it with a guy with a big joint and a fucking big stoner guy on the front of the cartoon, and that was when I was 18. And then again, the other thing I'll say, why it kind of seems like it was written down for me, is that was when I was 18. When I was about 16 or 17, I did an essay on legalizing cannabis in school, and I gave it to the fucking English lecturer and the teacher, and she passed it and stuff. But the people I wrote about it was like the Legalized Cannabis Alliance, and there was people like Peter Reynolds and others, and then 10 years later, I'm interviewing these people on the channel.
Cool, man.
It's weird. Yeah. It's fucking weird, man. It's like a total dream. I hate to put this joint out.
Well, I think as your lifestyle set out in front of you, I'm kind of believing that.
Have you ever had any psychedelic experiences?
Back in the old days, dope was a lot different, Now it's almost weed, homegrown weed and all that. But back when I was younger, you could actually trip off some of the dope that was about. Aye. And there was like Afghan black, red seal, gold seal, 00, and these were all like psychoactive, you know what I mean?
Right.
That all changed, and then everyone just all went down to soap bar. Soap bar. It was like, oh, this is shit, man. It wasn't as good anymore. And then skunk came onto the scene, and it was like, they were saying it was psychedelic, psychoactive.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was. It was just a.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of put people off smoking it as well, I think. Because I had a few people that, as I said, had tried it, and they're like, "Oh, that's crap. It's not doing nothing for me." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay." But this sort of stuff always did it for me, you know what I mean? And as I said, the skunk in that now is homegrown, so most people don't know really how to do it right either, I don't think, or they harvest it too fast. They don't let it flower enough, you know what I mean? And I preferred the old days of smoking, you know what I mean? Maybe it's just nostalgia, I don't know, but...
No, it's funny that, Jim, because I've got a few mates that are similar age, man, and they say the same thing, like, fuck this shit nowadays, man, this is shit, that's what they're looking for.
It's like you were tripping, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I used to drink alcohol with weed and all. They'll smoke. These are probably got the same stuff through there. The El Dorado was a big thing. Now it's Buckfast. Drinking Buckfast and smoking the skunk that's a bit homegrown. We've got these new names, Star Dog and all that, but it's basically the same stuff, you know what I mean? And the government's saying, oh, this stuff's causing the kids to go nuts, but it's not. It's just because they're drinking the Buckfast with it.
Yeah.
And that's like two of them and then mixing together, and that's where all the violence is coming from, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's giving the government a good excuse to keep it illegal, because when they see that when people get to jail, they're like, oh, I was smoking. They'll ask them what they were doing, and I was smoking some joints, and later on it's like, drugs, smoke drugs. I mean, same with some guy murdered his girlfriend years ago, and this guy was just questioned, and they said, how many joints do you smoke a day? And the guy says, oh, about 20. And it's like, come on.
Yeah.
20 joints a day, man. You take you through 20 joints a day. I don't think you're a lot younger and you're smoking with other people, but I can only smoke when I was smoking joints that I was drawing as well. So maybe 10 a day at least, you know what I mean?
It's a fucking busy day, Jim.
And maybe you're putting some pipes as well, you know what I mean? But I think it was actually more than that. The guy said that as soon as the newspapers got hold of that, you know what I mean? It was like, cannabis, skunk, deadly skunk, and and that's why it will always be illegal, because of the youth will always be drinking mate as well, you know what I mean? And
hopefully, I'm hoping there's going to be some
doesn't
change,
bother.
hopefully, but how long have we been hearing that? But I mean, is there any, do you remember any times where you was like, I've got this image, Jim, where you are all sitting around drawing and then there's like a fucking cloud of smoke in the room and shit. Is that what I was like?
No, not really. I was only artist about, you know what I mean, about yoga. I never knew anybody else that drew. And
So when you were doing collaborations, how would that work? Would you would you draw out the storyboard and then you would get the writer? They would send you over the script, and then you would like shape your drawings around their script.
yeah, Alan Grant, for instance, was the first writer that I'd ever worked with, and I gave the idea because I had a great idea when I was in hospital one time because I had a collapsed lung,
Right.
and so I ended up in hospital for 2 weeks, no, 3 weeks in fact. And when I got out, I was like dying for a joint, you know. But I was still bedridden, you know what I mean? I couldn't move. And my wife said, I'm away to the shop now, so I was like, okay. And I was like, pulled up a joint and get into it, man. And then she came back, she smelled the weed and she was like, oh, let's see if that happens to you again. I'm not coming up to see you. And I was up seeing her and I was like, Ma, it's all right, it'll get better, you know what I mean? And she went, but James, look across there. And she was pointing to the lassie in the bed across her. And she said, her 2 lungs have collapsed. And I was like, fucking hell. And I looked across and her face was pure white. It was like death. And I was like, hey man, that's a great idea for a character. That's I made up Dr. Bong. Dr. Bong's iron lungs, you know what I mean? He's in my door.
Thanks to Jim for giving me his time, and thanks to you for sticking around until the end of the video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed the content. I'll see you next time.